Well, recently we found out that Liberate would be appointing a new coordinator using a grant received from the Guernsey Community Foundation. So what work will be taking place over the next year whilst the money funds the role? Ellie Jones from Liberate is the new coordinator. Hello, Ellie.
Hello, Jenny.
Lovely to see you again in the studio, and she joins us alongside Pippa McCathie. Hello, Pippa.
Hi.
Lovely to see you both. Now, Pippa, what's your role in all of this? Just remind us.
Chair
of Liberate.
Yeah.
The new funding, how are you able to secure that?
So basically we went through an application process. When we were shortlisted for Charity of the Year with the Community Foundation, they spoke a lot and did a big video on the strategic grant programme that they do. So we decided as a group to apply for one of their strategic grants. We applied specifically to employ myself. And we went through a long, sort of lengthy process, very thorough, and we were awarded it. So, yeah, we sort of started on Tuesday and already having an amazing week. So, yeah, no, it's really good.
Well, first of all, can I say many congratulations?
Thank you very much.
So does this mean you've given up your day job?
No.
It doesn't?
I'm at Aladdin's Cave, who are very good to me and have given me a lot of leeway, shall we say, over the past sort of 2 years. I'm there part-time for another 2 months, and then a bit of a leap of faith as to how I make up the other part of my part-time role. But I'm very entrepreneurial. I'm sure I'll be fine.
I think that's the way of things these days, isn't it? Pippa, as chair, what does this mean for Liberate?
It just means that we can speed up all these different things we wanted to put in place, and instead of there taking 5 to 7 years to put them in place, it's going to take this year while Ellie's doing this job. I mean, we're so lucky to have had Ellie in situ, because we just wouldn't have got the grant if she hadn't been there ready and willing to keep going, you know.
So what are the challenges ahead for Liberate, the charity, and how are you going to tackle them?
It's not so much challenges, I guess. It's setting into place things that exist in most modern societies across, sort of the UK, America, etc. And we're pushing against an open door. Everybody's happy to sort of get on board. We've got a list of stuff. Our main things that we want to do is an education and outreach programme to help with homophobic bullying. We need to do a lot of fundraising, which will obviously fund all of these community projects. We need a heck of a lot of volunteers, because once this 12 months is up, we need to have it running purely by volunteers again, which is easily doable, because if we have enough and we spread the load, everyone does one thing. For example, fundraising activities, if we had 12 people doing one thing once a month, we would have a great fundraising programme going on. We want to develop a support system for LGBTQ people within the island. Anything from sort of regular social days, clubs, groups, events, all sorts of things. Like I've been in to see the police today to speak about a liaison officer within the police. We'll be contacting the prison. We've got HSSD things that we need to pursue. The list goes on and on and on and on.
Just insofar as the police are concerned, tell us what you want lined up there.
We just want somewhere where people, if for example, say a transgender youth gets abuse or beaten up or something, and they know that they can go and report it to an officer that knows how to sort of, what they may have been through. Terminology, I suppose, is the big thing. It's to stop people in the services within Guernsey being afraid of putting their foot in it, I guess. It's not an easy subject for a lot of people. They struggle with it, they get embarrassed, and we want to take that embarrassment away and make sure people realise that there's nothing to be embarrassed about, really. Well,
I think actually, speaking on behalf of the BBC now, I think EastEnders is doing a lot at the moment to counter that and the negatives of that. There are lesbian relationships in EastEnders being portrayed brilliantly, naturally, lovingly, all the downsides of a relationship, the upsides of the challenges of a relationship being portrayed. And also, in fact, you told me off air, and I'm going to say what I said, because this is an easy mistake to make, I think. I said they're also portraying a sex change, and you said...
gender reassignment.
So is that offensive to people to call it a sex change?
I think so, because the reason that it is because people, they're not changing their sex. There's a difference between gender and sex, and it's your gender's in your head, not between your legs, in the politest way. And it's assigning you the correct gender that goes with your brain, rather than changing your sex.
Well, a friend of this programme who comes to Guernsey regularly is playing the mother of somebody who's going through gender reassignment, or maybe has gone through it. I don't quite know. I didn't catch the storyline. That's Denise Welsh. And she brilliantly portrayed the fears, the worries of a mother in an episode recently. And I think seeing that sort of thing done in a soap really does help, doesn't it?
I don't watch TV. So I have
probably.
So I don't actually know the storyline. I do watch TV, but not very often. But I think anything where it's out in the open to people that will, like, general population, is great, because it just brings that acceptance and understanding, and it brings a conversation to the table.
Some would argue. Well, first of all, just explain to people who don't know what LGBTQ stands for. So,
lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning or queer, depending which way you want to go with it.
Okay, some would say there needs to be a W added to that.
There needs to be an S, a W, an A, an I. There is. I call it the Guernsey alphabet.
Because whilst we still have a system within which we have to ask our husband's permission to change our tax affairs, you know, some would say women are a minority in Guernsey, or treated as such. Pippa, discuss. Dare I? It's like light touch paper standing at the back, isn't it?
Well, ever since the days when I was part of the Guernsey Women's Group, I mean, I've always said that I can understand how people feel marginalised for whatever reason they feel marginalised, because I'm a woman. And in Guernsey today, in the UK, in America, look at the Trumpitude.
Let's not.
No, let's not. You know, these things exist. So this is what we want to tackle in this area. Liberate is tackling it in this area. And it could actually open up people's minds to other areas where people are marginalised.
Why do you think you're making faster moves than the Guernsey Disability Alliance?
I didn't realise we were.
Well, I think in some circles people would say you were. I've seen a few posts on Facebook recently expressing dismay at certain elements of the inability, it would seem, for the states to move forward with getting to grips with disability issues. You seem to be pushing things forward fairly quickly. In terms of your new role, you said that you could reduce 5 years' work into 1 year. I've heard you on the radio before saying that actually this new role, this funding of 21,000, is going to quicken things a lot.
Yeah, I think there's a few different things. I think people see that we've, or feel that we've moved forward really, really quickly. You have to go back 10 years to when the states agreed civil partnerships, and then it never went anywhere. You know, the GDA, Guernsey Disability Alliance, again, they keep getting batted back. We got batted back 10 years, you know, and it's taken that amount of time. I think people forget that we still don't have anything in place. So in effect, actually, nothing has changed for us yet until those first people get married on the state side of things.
So you're on a parallel almost with the GDA.
I mean, we're not. I mean, this new states, the new members in the states, need to know that we're going to be there watching. We're going to be pushing them to ratify that equal marriage law, and we're not going away.
In terms of the Guernsey Disability Alliance, they would also argue, I'm sure, and I remember interviewing Aaron Wilkie, the disability champion, on the Sunday phone-in, and he said that there's an awful lot of work done on behalf of disability behind the scenes. Is that the same with the sort of issues you're tackling?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, my brother Ben actually does a lot of work with the GDA, so we actually have, you know, we chat and we talk about the similarities between the two charities and the difficulties that we have. And I think they are going forward fast, but it is a lot of it's behind the scenes. You can't get everything out there into the public. Not everybody reads it. There's so many different routes to media, and there's massive amounts of work being done by both ourselves and the GDA behind the scenes that people don't get to see until they see the big end result.
And I'm sure they're as frustrated as you are by the slowness in certain quarters.
And they're one of the organisations that we've worked with. We've cooperated with, and we wish to continue doing that because we can help each other, the two charities. And I don't think it's not a competition. It's everybody wants the same goal. That's
Equality
not to be
for all.
marginalised, and equality. Women and everyone else as well.
Which it says something that you are a straight woman, so to speak, as the chair of Liberate, which many people think is a wonderful thing because you are truly representative of
Yeah, but
all
I mean,
walks of life.
Liberate's there to support the families as well. And my eldest is gay, married to a lovely son-in-law. And so Liberate isn't just... It's for everybody who is aware and of what we need, and it's also for all the families as well. That's one thing I really want to stress. It's for the families to come to us and say, my 13-year-old says he thinks he's gay. What do I do? They know nothing about the situation. They need help and information, and that's one of the main things we're there for. We're there to support and to inform.
If somebody's son, daughter, grandson, granddaughter came to them and said, I think I'm gay, what's the best way of the family member tackling that, do you think?
Well, I had a lady actually at work come up to me earlier this week to say that one of their friends, their son or daughter, had come out as gay, and they were really struggling to deal with it. So I actually told them, gave them all Pippa's details. We had a couple of leaflets, and we make initial contact with them and basically explain to them that it's not that scary. It's not, you can still have grandchildren. There's, there's all these things that people have a worry about, that you're going to be persecuted more. That was my mum's worry. You're going to have a tougher time. She was a bit sort of...
That was my main worry with James.
Yeah, and my mum was sort of a bit like, well, you're not going to have a baby then. And I was like, I probably wouldn't have done even if I was straight. I'm not very maternal. I don't really want children. But if I did, I could. It doesn't mean just because I'm gay that I can't have children. And those seems to be the two main issues. Is persecution and where are the grandchildren coming from? And then once people understand that actually it's about the happiness of that person, they all of a sudden it twists in their head and they're like, oh yeah, of course, if my child's happy, then that's more important than, everything else, really. And if we can make it more accepted within society, then they will be happier as well.
See, I have this conversation regularly, and I have done for a couple of years now, about my son. I've got lots of gay friends, and, he said, oh, they live together, but they're two women, or they live together, but they're two men. I said, yes, William, they're gay. And he said, well, I don't know what I am. I said, well, maybe you're too young to decide yet, but as long as you're happy, I'm happy. And he said, well, I think I'd like a girlfriend in the future, but I'm not sure. And I said, well, you just go along, see what happens. And I think right from an early age, you have to be open with your children, don't you? And your grandchildren.
Absolutely.
They will adopt your views.
Definitely.
Well, it just adds to the stress. If a person who knows they're gay feels they're not going to be accepted by their family, that's the worst thing. And that can extend to friends, acquaintances, total strangers in the street. If the family support them, that's an enormous leap forward for them. And it can help them deal with any other negative behaviour they may come across. That was what we were most worried about with James, is that no, I can't use that word, can I? The stuff... same first letter, that might be thrown at him, and we were there to protect him. In fact, I remember 2 or 3 times when James was a teenager tackling people who'd been really nasty to him.
Homophobic bullying.
See, I can't understand anybody.
I phoned the mother of one young chap and said, please would you advise your son that if he does that again, he will regret it.
The wrath of Pippa is something to behold, I'd
Yes.
wager. I can't believe anybody would allow anything like that to come out of their mouths, but I suppose it happens,
Lordy.
doesn't it?
This is why we want the education programme in place.
Absolutely.
Give us an idea of what sort of thing was going on.
Well, the language wouldn't be acceptable, Jenny.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I mean, Ellie, have you come across extremely bigoted
No, I mean,
attitudes, or...
personally, I'm either very lucky or I just have a very good family, friends, and the people that I choose to surround myself with. I've had the odd thing where I've been walking down the street. I'm very open, so I'll walk down the street in Guernsey holding hands with, I'm single at the moment, but with, my girlfriend. And you get the odd person that'll shout out the window, gay, and you're like... yes, I know. And it doesn't really, but it makes you slightly self-conscious. But if I don't do it, if I do it, it gives other people the courage to do it too. And the more people see it, the more people stop staring, the more people don't make comments. And it's, if you could pull them back and go, sorry, excuse me, can you just say why, let me know why you said that?
Exactly.
I think they would feel so embarrassed and they'd be like, I don't really know.
Well, actually, it doesn't make any difference whether you're gay, straight, whatever. I mean, I've walked down the road hand in hand with girlfriends through town because you're fond of them, you know.
Your hands are cold.
Yeah, quite.
You forgot your gloves.
Or they're going through a bad time or something like that. Why are people so quick to judge?
I think I have an attitude of when people say to me, especially sort of from I'm quite androgynous looking, so people give me quite a few second glances as to whether I'm a girl or a boy a lot of the time, I think. I got ID'd, for example, at the airport the other day for alcohol. I turned 40 in 2 weeks' time, and I'm convinced. I know. So one, I was really pleased, but I was just convinced that she only ID'd me because she thought I was a little boy. And so I get quite used to getting those second looks. And what I try to get across to people is, if you look at somebody and you have an opinion of what they're doing, have a think in your head of, does it matter whether they're a boy or a girl? Does it matter if they're gay? Why are you thinking that? You know, it doesn't interfere with your life. Move on and just let that thought go.
Well, I have it here in a jokey sense because I've got big hands and I'm 6 foot tall and I'm a big woman, and they're convinced that I used to be a man, some of the younger ones. And somebody said yesterday, all the clues in the Adam's apple. Well, I don't think I've got an Adam's apple. If I know. But I mean, I find it absolutely incredible that people are so quick to judge. And what you've said horrifies me.
But I mean, if you're, say you've got a chat with a load of mates, and, you know, young lads do show off to each other. If when this phrase that you're about to express comes to just before you let it out, think, if that was me, would I be happy with what I'm about to say? And if your instinct is that you wouldn't, then stay stumm. And don't say it.
Pick people up on it. If
yes,
people
absolutely.
Say it,
pick people up on it.
You know, I tend to do it. I have a lot of people at work that use language that they don't realise is offensive. And I'm not talking about from an Lgbtq. They will refer to where they're going to pick up their Chinese for the evening in a way that they don't realise is offensive. And I've pulled them up before and, you know, quietly to one side and explained that word that they're using, actually the Chinese person that they're about to buy their Chinese from might find that offensive, and then they've gone, I've used that all my life, I haven't realised, you know. And
exactly.
If you do it in a good way, and most people are sensible enough to go, actually, I don't want to offend anybody. I'm not here to you know, annoy anyone, offend anyone, or upset anybody, and they'd feel horrible about it. If they don't, they're not a person you need to bother about anyway.
See, a lot of people get offended if you call us Guerns.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to take that out of my vocabulary.
I'll have to take that out.
No, don't, because, you know, I don't actually think that is offensive, and I think a lot of us Guerns are proud to be called Guerns.
I really object as a 70-year-old woman to be called a girl. The girls. I mean, what's that about?
No, I might be in danger of doing that, because I do call
and I want to be called
friends
woman, not
girls.
lady, because I'm not a lady, I ain't got a title.
Yet.
Yeah.
When you do, maybe as a wallflower, get on the wrong side of bullying and you feel really low about yourself, how does that shy, retiring wallflower deal with themselves?
In what sort of way do you
I'm talking about younger members of the population maybe experiencing homophobic bullying at school. I'm talking about people maybe... I mean, it's a heck of a thing to come out if your family's not supportive.
We're going to talk to... at an inset day of teachers.
For all the PXHE teachers.
And we're hoping to get across to those teachers what to look out for in the classroom. And I would hope that any child, teenager who was subjected to that kind of nonsense, it's worse than nonsense, but that's a polite word to use, would tell their teacher. Because once we've done our job, if we do it properly, and I'm sure Ellie will particularly, the teachers are going to be more aware.
Because there are gay teachers as well, aren't there?
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah. Especially the PE ones. I'm only
not
joking.
Have any stereotypes in this show. Thank you very much, Ellie. In terms of your role, what are you most keen to achieve in the first year?
The education, that's the big one, and the HSSD coordination, really, so that people have care pathways for trans. And those are the two
main ones.
Important at the top
there
of the
are
list.
so many others that we want to concentrate on. I mean,
they're just going to be the ones that take the longest as well.
And they're the most complex in a way.
We'll talk about that in just a few minutes after this one from the Supremes. This is BBC Radio Guernsey. If you want to join in the conversation, if we say anything that strikes a chord, 200 373 is the number to call. This is BBC Radio Guernsey. I'm JKT in the studio with two representatives from the LGBTQ charity Liberate, which has just secured new funding. We've already congratulated them on that amazing milestone achievement challenge, I suppose, it's given you, Ellie, in the not too distant future. You've said that the main thing you want to tackle is education, and you've already talked about going around the schools, going to the police, going into the prisons, the usual areas of Guernsey culture and life. You've also mentioned about going to HSSD to talk about the trans pathway.
We have been in discussions with them, and obviously with everybody being volunteers, trying to find the time to pursue everything thoroughly and properly is the difficulty, I guess. When somebody struggles with their gender identity and they want to initially contact their healthcare providers, there is no clear pathway of within a lot of HSSD, from doctors' surgeries all the way through to psychologists that are actually specialised in Guernsey. So it's letting people know that there is a clear route so that it doesn't take, at the moment it takes sort of 2 to 4 years. And within that time, I mean, trans teen suicide rates or attempted suicides are 50% of trans teens attempt suicide. We're lucky here that at the moment, I believe, we actually still, thank goodness, have a zero rate on that. But it's come quite close from my conversations that I've had with people. And we need to tackle that because sooner or later somebody is going to die because they don't have the correct information or are passed around too much.
I know from talking to somebody who's actually having the operation this week that they've talked to the surgeon who's performing that, and the increases of the number of operations performed are on the rise. Mm-hmm. More people are realising that they're the right person in the wrong body, if that's the right way of putting it. And if there's no pathway to deal with that in Guernsey, you're quite right. That could lead to some serious mental well-being issues.
Yeah, that's the main concern, really.
Absolutely, that's it. Yeah.
And I mean, for some people, it would be abhorrent listening to people wanting to change gender. But I've just got an interesting piece here about Kyle, who's moved into the square on EastEnders. And I didn't realise this. I just watched it and thought, what an amazing storyline. When Kyle moves in to the square and then back for good at the end of the year, he'll be making television history. The actor playing him, 21-year-old Riley Carter Millington, is the first transgender actor to play a transgender character in a UK soap. It's his first acting role and he can't wait to get started. I can honestly say that I've now fulfilled my two biggest dreams, to be living my life as a man and to be an actor. So far, not much is known about Kyle, but EastEnders writers say he'll have his secrets and get a big storyline at the end of this year. I think that came out last year, this article. And the show's executive producer, Dominic Treadwell-Collins, believes EastEnders is well known for pushing boundaries, with stories including Mark Fowler contracting HIV and Colin and Barry's first gay kiss. It's always led the way in changing audience perceptions about difference, he says, and if EastEnders can do it, then we can here at BBC Radio Guernsey. What's the most shocking story you've heard within the Liberate's community and its environs?
I guess for a couple of days, actually last week or the week before, I'm not going to name names, but one of our group contacted me to do with the research we were doing on the deputies or the potential deputies. We polled everybody out, asking them if they will push forward the social change or social changes that the previous states within their timelines, so that it doesn't get batted backwards, basically. And we asked them to kind of commit as much as they could do to saying that they would. And there was a few people who didn't reply to our 3 emails that we sent out to make sure that we could at least say they didn't reply. And one of them was the father of one of our group, and he told me a pretty horrific story about why he wouldn't reply, which was to do with a lot of abuse because of his sexuality. As I said, I don't want to go into sort of details, but, you know, it was pretty horrific, and especially that it's not, I can't believe that somebody can go up for a deputy that has done that, and it's on police record, and yeah, it's that was really shocking to me.
Okay. So no,
sorry, I can't go through into too much info.
Into details, because in a small community, people can be identified. I mean, there are people that we've supported and had contact with since Liberate started, but I can't say to you this happened or that happened, because they could be identified. So it's, you know, part of our remit is complete confidentiality with people who come to us with problems that they feel they can't manage.
And quite right too. I suppose that May the 9th could have a different connotation were you to take it on as partly your own in terms of liberation. If we're going to take the true meaning of liberation, we should be accepting of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we did, when we first launched, we actually put off the launch of our name until after Liberation Day for that reason, because we didn't want people to think we were kind of jumping or trying to,
of course,
hook it. You know, we didn't want any
Nor
negative.
Would we suggest that.
Yeah. So, but it does. It's the reason we picked Liberate was because it has strong meaning to everyone across the Channel Islands about feeling free and feeling that you can, you know, you're not oppressed by anybody.
In terms of States deputies, are there enough people who are able to represent your views, would you say?
Now I think possibly there are. I don't think I would have said that of the previous states, although some were very, very strongly with us. And
we had the massive vote went for us, although that we may have presumed it wouldn't. To 7,
to 8, to 8, or to 7, I think. That's incredible, given how far we've come. You know, when Neil and I were campaigning to have the gay age of consent reduced, I mean, you know, that I wouldn't have believed you if you told me this would happen so soon.
It was interesting doing the emailing out because I did a spreadsheet and made it simple with colours. So there was a red, orange and green. And it was interesting to see which parishes had the most traffic lights, should we say. So St Sampson's had a full set of green. You know, everyone was really happy. Cattel, kind of multicoloured. And I believe there's no women sort of in the Cattel district.
I'm not sure. I mean, Sarge James didn't get back in, unfortunately.
Yeah, so they don't have any women. You know, so there was just definite distinctions between different parts of the island, shall we say?
Where else shocked you?
Those were the two, really. Just
so
it was
all other parishes are.
Yeah, most of the other parishes were very even. I mean, virtually everybody was positive. You know, I'm sure you could name the people that you
That's
assume
not to say that every female deputy is with us.
No. And we also did have some interesting conversations with. We did have some interesting conversations with people who. What I liked was we had a few people come back and say they were against it. If they'd have been in the States, they'd have been one of the people that stood up and said they were against it. And what was refreshing is that that they were honest. The people that came back with the ambiguous answers were the ones that I kind of were like, come on, at least put your colours to the post or whatever, however
money
you
where
phrase
your
it.
mouth is.
And I did thank the couple of people who were honest and say thank you for your honesty, because I would rather know that that's what you're getting.
It's a bit of a digression, but do you think we need honesty now in politics? Do you think we need people to nail their colours to the mast now and say?
I think that should be a prerequisite.
Not
I don't think we should ask that. I don't think we should have to ask that question. Do we need honesty in politics?
Already, with certain decisions that have been made, already there's talk of divide and subterfuge and people doing deals and
I think you're always going to have that. It's just a case of let's have less of it, please.
Quite. And
you're dealing with human beings. You're going to have it.
You've got your arms crossed. Not sure about your body language, Pippa. What are the other challenges you face? The really controversial challenges that we need to maybe hit people over the head with, so to speak.
I'm really not sure there's going to be that much controversy in the stuff that we're trying to do, because the world's changed in the past 10 years. If we'd have tried to do this 10 years ago, then I could probably, reel off 100 different things. But we really have been pushing against an open door here, and people are willing to help, from everyone from the chief minister to, people at the hospital to, everybody is pretty open. They get a little bit scared when we first come in, because I think they think we're going to be a little bit militant and stompy, and then they realise we're not.
And actually what we're seeing in Guernsey now is the growth of pressure groups such as yourself. And you've got the Guernsey Disability Alliance, you've got Liberate, you've got the Living Streets organisation, you've got organisations like that won't let up when it comes to making sure there is pressure on the States of Guernsey, which I think is, in the absence of party politics, that's what we need, isn't it?
One of the most important things for me is for the whole community, LGBTQ and families, to pull together and not to argue amongst themselves, because that is so destructive, and it just plays into the hands of the people who are prejudiced and uninformed. So for me, I just want us all to work together to this end that we have in view.
When is the first gay marriage going to come about?
We've been told from the previous states, 2017, so next year, hopefully. We will keep up that pressure.
Yes.
It would be nice. I mean, once the states have settled in, we'll arrange a meeting with the various people that we need to. I have the update of where they are at the moment, which is legislationally based, and we will be aiming for 2017. It'd be really nice to be able to tell people a date. I'd love that, because I've got a lot of people hassling us about it.
Yes.
Because a wedding takes a long time to plan, and a gay wedding takes even longer, I believe.
I was
all
going
the
to say,
glitter.
I mean, who's going to be the first one to get married? That must be a fight as well.
We've all put a little, like a little slip of paper in a hat, and we all have our people that we believe will be first in the list. So I'm hoping my friends Paula and Kirsty.
And I mean, it's just, some people would say it's ridiculous that gay people can't get married over here.
Well, we don't. I think people still don't realise that we don't have anything at all. We don't have civil partnerships.
No.
So we don't have. We are one of the last places within the British Isles to have no legislation at all.
Why is it taking till 2017 though, Ellie?
Because laws just take time to write.
So we are told. So we are told.
But
I mean, why can't? For me, I'm not one of the legal types in the civil service, but for me, these laws have been written in other parts of the British Isles. Why can't they go along and say, can I have a look at your law? Do you mind if I copy it?
That is kind of what they are doing.
And there you go. Well, in that case, why is it going to take so long?
Because they want to relook at a couple of things in the existing marriage law, such as non-consummation of marriage and adultery, and they're looking to change that, and it brings in a load of complications. So it's all.
Yes,
I think they might have changed their mind.
What sort of complications? It's exactly the same for a gay couple as it would be for a straight couple.
Apparently not, because then you have to have an icky conversation about what constitutes as consummation and adultery, and basically, and nobody wants to have that conversation.
Right, I get you. So it's sort of, yes, where there's
becomes a whole other conversation,
yeah, which
would be a great debate to put on the radio.
I'm more than willing to.
It'd be very interesting to hear it debated in the States.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Well, yes.
I'll go and sit in the court for that one.
Don't get us started. Are there enough of the LGBT community represented within Guernsey business?
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
we had the first exhibitionist ball at the weekend, and it was amazing. It blew us all away. There was a lot of high-fiving afterwards, and we got the concept out there, and it was full of LGBTQ business people and their friends and supporters, and we were already booked for 29th of April next year.
I hope I can come to that one.
Yeah, because seriously, it blew everybody away. It was the most amazing night.
When I was double booked.
Yeah.
So
have you seen the photos online?
No.
Oh, go and have a look.
Go and have a look at the photos.
Well, can I live vicariously through you? What was it like?
Everybody.
Let's go right from the beginning.
Okay, so do you want the pre-build up or the actual night itself?
Yes, the pre-build up, what people wore, the cocktails, else? What what
Well,
happened?
Neil wore white tie and tails and a top hat.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, I was suited and booted with sort of
Yes,
a tie
and glitter all down the back
glitter
of your
all down.
head, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have strange stripes in the back of my head at the moment.
Oh, wow, they're
From the
pretty
glitter.
impressive.
And all the chaps with beards had glitter beards.
We had glitter beards. We had a werewolf. We had It was basically the concept of the night is be you, be who you are. Be if you've ever wanted to go to a ball dressed as a fairy princess, you can turn up as a fairy princess. I had a friend of mine. Everybody was confused about what to wear. So a friend had always wanted to wear a tux. She went in a tux. Another friend that came with them had always wanted to dress as the Mad Hatter. So she dressed as the Mad Hatter, and they all said, "You can't do that. It's not fancy dress." She went, "But I've always wanted to do this, and this is the point."
Yeah.
And that's what people did. And there was
A couple of people with corsets on.
Yeah,
and,
corsets,
fantastic.
galore, fairy wings,
Yeah.
Stetson hats, and white suits.
Any Pamela Hogg outfits?
What's who's
Oh,
Pamela
so
Hogg?
I think it was at the Oscars. It was like fishnet tights with just little bits in the appropriate areas.
I think next year, now that people,
Might well be.
I had a couple come up to me, and they actually won tickets to the ball that we put out on the Facebook page, and they ummed and ahed about going, and his boyfriend had sort of pulled away from wanting to go, and they eventually decided to go, and he put himself in a suit, and then halfway through the night they came up to me and went, "Next year we're going to wear a dress." So he went from not wanting to go at all to like just the vibe of the whole thing was just
Oh, we had
amazing.
someone who was in a straightforward sort of tux and evening, but he had glittery gold shoes on.
Yeah, it could be
Fabulous.
anything. I mean, I had one of our committee, Cara, our secretary, was unfortunately she was away, and she helped us massively with all the build up to it, and she. Some of the girls that came over from Jersey Liberate were DJing for the night and helping again, and they stayed at hers, and I had a text message from her. I won't use the language that she used, and when she got back, it was in a funny way, and she was like, "How much glitter was there at this place? My place looks like Christmas exploded."
I mean, this sounds like a really awkward, trite question, but I mean it in a sense so that we can explore the psychology of people who've felt oppressed, people who've had the strength of mind to come out. Why are gay social functions so much more fun than straight ones?
Well,
and all that goes
I love
with
it.
that.
They are as a general rule, but the function we had wasn't just a gay function. It was
No. I
anyone
know.
was over. Well, we just want to keep pushing that, like Pride. Pride it's a family day. It's about getting everybody out because then there's more acceptance. So although it was a fundraiser for Pride and for the community projects that we do, there was probably a split of about 60-40 of people that were straight or don't identify as LGBTQIS.
Yeah.
All the rest of them. So it's important for acceptance. I mean, everybody said that it was just great that they could walk in, they could hold hands with who they wanted to, they could look how they wanted. They didn't get second glance, they didn't get questioned about who they were.
Psychologically, when you've got people who have had to go through, I mean, why you have to go through it, I don't know.
It's
but
a
you
little
have-
bit like being let off the leash in a way,
I
isn't it?
suppose it is, but people who've had to go through that whole process of I'm coming out, why then are those events so much more exhibitionist when I suppose it's because they've done
Because
it and they think, what the heck?
You're letting it all hang out.
Well, it's like the whole theme of the exhibitionist ball is there to let people feel like they, I hate, if you tried to put me in a dress, one, I'd look stupid, but two, I just wouldn't go. If somebody said you've got to go black tie, I mean, I do some work with some other people and I end up going to Monaco Yacht Show, and when we go out to the black tie balls, I wore a dress, and the next year I said I felt so uncomfortable, I said I'm going as me, and I went, in trousers and a white shirt and a tie, and I felt me, I could be me, and that's what it's about. Like when I was stood there in a dress trying to do my spiel, talking to them about the work we were doing there, I felt uncomfortable. My body language was wrong, and that's what it's about.
How does the dress make you feel? Because I empathise, because when I was choosing my first wedding dress, I tried most of them on as a 6-foot woman. Most of them made me look like little Bo Peep gone wrong.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just standing there with his legs sticking out the bottom and these big puffy skirts, and you think, oh, for goodness sake, Jen, no.
Yeah, they just, well, one, they don't suit me. It's not my, it's like...
It's what you're comfortable with.
It's what I can look good and smart in what I wear, it's just society's perception that says you've got to wear a dress for that event. And it's like, no, actually, I don't. And it makes me feel awkward, uncomfortable. And because it's not me, it's like making someone dress up. I'd feel like Whoopi Goldberg in like Ghost, when she stomps across kind of like, the road. And if you put me in heels or anything like that, that's what I feel like. You put me in a pair of smart, slightly heeled shoes, and it makes me feel empowered and in a nice suit. And it gives me that confidence to just to be myself.
Where was the ball?
It was at the Duke of Richmond, and they were brilliant.
And what was Kitty like?
Kitty was amazing.
From the X Factor. We're going to hear from her on tomorrow's show.
Yeah, she blew everyone away. I mean, we were...
and she was so nervous. That really surprised me. Yeah.
But her voice was amazing, and she was brilliant. We were doing the sound check before, and myself and Tina, who is a godsend, we were listening to the sound check as we were just sort of finishing off some final decorations and things. And we both kind of stopped, and Kitty kind of came from behind this wall and let out the first sort of note, and we both just looked at each other, and this massive grin went on her face, and we did a big high five, and we were like, woo, yes, this is going to be the,
What was the food like?
Food was
very
great.
Good indeed, apparently.
The whole night couldn't have gone any better if we'd have tried.
Right, we're all coming next year.
I mean, if someone wants to come sponsor it, that's all we need now to top it off.
Well, I reckon we should take it to the big hall at Beausejour, don't you, and have a massive event. Maybe in the streets of Guernsey we should take it to.
I think in a few years' time we will. I think we're going to try and keep it at the Duke of Richmond for now, because they were so good and it was such a great place. It'll just be a case of...
They did a grand job, didn't they?
Yeah, it'll just be a case of book your tickets early, because when they come out, because they are going to fly off the shelves.
Ellie, best of luck with the new position.
Thank you.
£21,000 has been given to Liberate by the Guernsey Community Foundation for some amazing work that I know, and please keep us updated.
Okay.
I'm also in the studio with Pippa McCathie, their chair, and I know Pippa likes a bit of cooking. We're going to end the show now, but before we do, I've been asking our listeners to call in with ideas for Guernsey street food. This is off the back of MasterChef going to Mexico, and we've had all manner of things called in. Leslie says we need some healthy things. People could do scallops or crab in a salad. They were doing lovely salads last night on MasterChef. We could use all sorts of things like Guernsey herbs. She says you never find healthy street food in Guernsey, which is a shame. I totally agree, Leslie. Rose suggests ormer fritters sitting on a scallop jus with a couple of cherry tomatoes, followed by congaree cassoulet with Guernsey new potatoes. Liz says Guernsey biscuits with Guernsey butter and Guernsey smoked mackerel. And Peter says Shanka spring rolls with fresh Guernsey herbs, although who has spelt Shanka, S-H-A-N-K-A on this message? Ollie, was that you? I don't know. I came up with balls earlier. Balls, gosh Malar balls, filled with an apple puree and Guernsey cider pulp, deep fried with panko breadcrumbs around. So
you can get Neil to do that.
Can you get him to do some and bring some in?
Well, I'll have to sort of...
He's listening.
Get him to listen.
Neil, please, thank you.
Yeah.
So, Ellie, what would you come up with? Guernsey street food.
We kind of had a brief conversation before here, and I'm still sticking with my original idea of donkey sausage. That's all I have to say.
Donkey sausage. You heard it here first. Thank you for that, Ellie.
Well, my idea, and not Guernsey golden goat burgers. Yeah, Guernsey goat burgers. Or how about some deep-fried seaweed, Guernsey seaweed with scallops?
Apparently the bacterial issues with cooking Guernsey seaweed, quite why, I don't know.
Well,
but
can't we wash it?
Scallop kebabs, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose washing it would do it.
Scallop and tomato, Guernsey scallop and Guernsey cherry tomato kebabs.
Oh, yes.
With Guernsey bay leaves in between.
Oh, yes. And while we're on the subject of food, has anyone ever tried to cook a conga casserole with cream and white wine?
My mother used to do.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Yeah. Absolutely wonderful.
She did a very good one.
Is it lunchtime? I think it is.
Yeah.
To Ellie and her donkey sausage, thank you very much indeed. And to Pippa McCathie, thank you very much indeed. Do continue to keep us updated as far as the work of Liberate's concerned. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks to you for all your wonderful street food suggestions. And let's do it all again tomorrow, shall we? Here on BBC Radio Guernsey.